Hi, my name's Rosemary Slade. I'm an occupational therapist, and I have with me today, I've got one of my very favorite people that I'm talking with, and her name is Gail Fisher. She's a powerhouse of a woman, but more importantly also, she has a son that I have been working with for about 11 years.
I know, 11.
11 years, yeah, 11 years. And the reason I've been working with John 11 years is because what we do in occupational therapy is a lot of things, and I travel with the age group, and that's how it's kind of been working for us. Yes.
And I've done the same too with John's interventions. Travel with him.
Yes, and so the big thing here is Gail is very active in communication, in training, in helping people understand learning differences, helping people with their navigating the world of autism, and sharing her story. And I think that's the biggest piece that I'd like to share with you today, is sharing Gail's story, because she's a person who lives autism, walks the walk, talks the talk, and she lives this life every single day, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's her journey, and she's literally pathfinding what it is like to be outside the mainstream and not accepting what is the normal, typical thing that people are doing. And I talk about people, I might even just say institutions. So the medical institution, the educational system, she's helping them understand that people who have autism have varying different degrees of abilities, and they all shouldn't be shuttered into one little box.
Right.
And this has been her life's work, and hasn't it?
Yeah.
and my life's work has been supporting moms like Gail, and parents like Gail, and so it's a beautiful. I think it's a beautiful relationship, and so the intention of today's talk here is to provide some support for those who are looking for some modalities. A couple of them that I provide, and two of them in specific are nutritional balancing, the nutrition aspect of it, which boils down to a lot of sensory integration, a lot of how you can swallow pills, how there's a lot of aspects to this.
I forgot the pill swallowing odyssey. Oh yeah.
Yes. And then the putting number 2 in the toilet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I know, right?
No.
So
you forget, that was
those
Lordy,
were the days.
16 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Victory.
Those were the days. Those were the days. So, anyway, that's really where I'm at with that, and how lasers have helped support John, and just basic things like that. So, John was, and you correct me when I'm wrong, but John, when he was born we use the terms neurodiverse, neurotypical, that sort of thing. He was born neurotypical, as I recall.
To most standards. He came out with a 9 APGAR, so there was a little bit of a jaundice thing going on. So there was some hints that the immune system was going to have a trouble. Plus, he came out a little early, so he didn't have his full IgG, IgE, IgM, soldiers all lined up. And within about age 2, we had the lack of expressive speech, and by then the pediatrician said, "Sorry, you're going to have somebody in your house. You're going to have a social worker in your house now."
And by age 2, John actually had a couple of big insults to his central nervous system. And I'll share that, and Gail will correct me if I'm wrong. But first thing was, he had a fire ant episode where he was bit by fire ants, and subsequently to that, he was so allergic to fire ants that he had an EpiPen, and could have, the next episode could possibly kill him. I mean, he was that allergic. And then right after that, I mean, not like next day, but soon after that or before that, were his 24-month immunizations. And so it's my opinion that it was the perfect storm to set him up for a big whammy to his central nervous system, which contributed to his autism.
Yeah, so to add in just a few more details to that. So the thing about an anaphylactic reaction is that you don't know you've got a dire problem until the second strike. So we didn't know that there was going to be a fire ant antibody problem for John. They make formic acid, right? So if you know anything about fire ants, they're little boogers, and they all wait until they're all lined up, and then they all bite at one time, and they hang on for dear life. And the formic acid that they give out is what forms those little white pus spots, right? So it was a rainy season. John was playing out front. The neighbors were talking. It's just kind of, a neighborhood talking after when you come out after a rainy time. And the fire ants had just been moving around, and they were on the warpath. So John got hit the second time. The first time, I don't know when that was, but the body armed for war to formic acid. The second time was when he started into this Rosemary's Baby thing. Oh, don't mean that. Sorry. If you've ever watched the Blair Witch, Rosemary's Baby thing, all of those. First, he his everything but the head spinning. So he bloated up and he vomited in my purse at the ER, and just everything with his body system was starting to shut down. I didn't know what it was. One of our neighbors down the street said, Benadryl, get to the ER. After it had progressed for at least 30, 45 minutes, I didn't know what it was. Now I do, and I can spot it coming a mile away. So major immune system problem, and then another minor one soon thereafter. EpiPen's with us forever. Then boom, year 2, I didn't know any better. I mean, I should have known better, but I didn't know any better. Plus the flu shot, 2 doses. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that'll do it.
That'll do it.
That'll do it to anybody, but you do this to a young child, you're going to affect the central nervous system to a degree. And when I met John, he had already been in ABA, which was ABA stands for
Applied Behavioral Analysis.
Yes. So it's a school that a lot of parents land up sending their children who have autism to when they're young, and it's beneficial for some, not so beneficial for others. Gail will speak to that if she chooses. So I met him shortly after he had completed his ABA schooling, and he was just getting into school, like regular public school.
About age 4 was when we finally got connected. To Rosemary. Yeah. And we had been to some schools trying to head toward the public school system. And there's disclosures, and there's behaviors, and there's awarenesses, and people tell you stuff, and you start your interventions. And so
So, and I also want to say, when you start your interventions, that's the day you start. So it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if they're 30 or 4 years old or 2 years old or whatever. It's the day you start. It's really how that happens. So when I met John, he was, and I always like to accent the positives, but I've got to say, he had some challenges. He had some really big challenges.
No, say what you mean.
Okay, I'll say what I mean. He was, I put him in the severe range of autism. I know.
Jeez.
But I don't today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I don't today. But he was, he was stuck on, he would only drink out of 1 cup. Thankfully, she was able to get him to drink out of one straw, 1 cup. Had to look the same. He couldn't jump. He was unable to speak or communicate. The way he communicated was by hitting and slamming things. And so you had television screens that were slammed, and front door screen was, that's how he communicated. He had no other way, really. And had a lot of stress. And there was a lot of stress on his system. Additionally, there was a lot of stress on this system right here. And so anyway, what we did start out with was simple things that would support Mom and John, to get him to get some variety in his life with drinking from different straws, learning how to drink from an open cup, learning how and then we had the whole toileting thing, which was many years worth of. That was
progress and then regression, and then progress and then
regression. But it was always progress, And so we started out with GAPS diet. You had already been doing gluten-free, casein-free,
Right.
which is the standard thing that a lot of people who have children with autism do. They go gluten-free, casein-free, and soy-free. And that helps some children. Actually, the underlying issue with all the children that I work with who have special needs is they all have those intolerances, bar none. There's a challenge with the GI tract, the challenge with processing foods, and not eating the foods that are correct for their body type and diet anyway. So then children will often start selectively eating only certain things, and often it's whole milk and carbohydrates, which is the typical thing that I hear about, and we've got to work away from that. But he was eating those things, and the first segue was to try the GAPS diet.
And the crisis point happened because he was really stalling out. He was sick and doing a lot of vomiting and diarrhea and things, and just so thin, but kind of like a big bloated belly, like a biafra baby. And so when we started with the GAPS diet, I mean, she said broth, and so I went out and bought every size of crock pot I could find. I still have them. And so I made an earnest effort into GAPS. I didn't make an earnest effort into gluten-free, casein-free. It just didn't happen. There were some benchmarks of John's physicalness along the way, of ups and downs. But by the time we hit that bloated belly and nothing was going down, I was still feeding him chocolate milk. I mean, I was dumb.
Well, not dumb, but you were doing what you could to get him to eat something. This is what happens.
Yeah, and we were out of town, and so anyway, great. We made that commitment, and so and then as time went by, we did genetic stuff, we did metabolism stuff, so we could learn ever more about his central nervous system processing and all that.
Right. And GAPS stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gut and Psychology Syndrome. It's a specific diet that's designed for people to help with the gut and the brain. There is a connection between the gut and the brain, and so this is designed to help heal the gut-brain connection. And GAPS is not designed to be a long-term diet. It's designed for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but not long-term.
And the cool thing about Dr. McBride, she was a UK, I think she's still alive. She is a UK doc, and so an MD, and her son was in the spectrum. So this was of her design because of her skin in the game. It's a cool story.
Yeah, very cool story. So about that time, I also had been looking at other modalities to help support all my families that I work with who have children with autism and other needs, and then my needs also. And I came up across nutritional balancing, mineral nutritional balancing, and this was around 2015 that I came across it. And this is nutritional balancing. Dr. Lawrence Wilson, he took over the body of work of Dr. Lawrence Zach. And so after GAPS, we were having some success with John. I mean, we really were, because he was able to drink various things. He was starting to drink out of different straws, starting to, and there were some nice things happening.
Well, you mentioned pill swallowing. We should dangle the fishhook of pill swallowing for you. So as we would get intervention, as we would get vitamins and nutrients from the doctor in the diet that we should add to John's, then it was, how do we get those things down his hatch? Because that was so orally resistant from his trigeminal nerve, right? You couldn't get a crowbar in that mouth. So we started on a pill swallowing teaching episode, and we went with a teeny tiny little one, and eventually now he can take those honking big number ones or number zeros. Big and there's some blogs on it, and we shared pictures. But just to let you know, your kid can swallow those things.
Yes, and do it well. I mean, but it didn't start out that way. When he started out with nutritional balancing, Gail did the usual things that parents do, which is put the child's supplements in juice. And well, juice is not really very beneficial for most people, and especially for young children. I know that everybody will be going, what? But
do you remember I actually took and ground up some of them
Yeah.
and recapsulized them in smaller
Yes.
sizes? Because anyway.
Yeah. But at first you had him taking in juice.
Oh yes,
And
absolutely.
for a couple of years.
And I was trying to find anything to mask it. So I was
Yes.
putting in orange extract. I was just
Yes.
anything. It was.
So it's a challenge, but you can put them in other things until they're at this stage where they're ready to learn how to swallow pills. And when we determined that he was ready, because we just knew he would be ready.
We made him
We
ready.
figured. So here's the thing: if your child can swallow like cereal or take a bite of food and swallow it, they can swallow a pill. Is how I look at it. Also, if anyway, it's a long story. So we decided that he could do it, and we started out with Skittles, and we chopped them up, remember? And he really wanted to just eat them.
But it ended up being a bribery.
Yeah.
And then if he wanted his good stuff, he was going to have to eat one or two of those. And it just built from there.
And so, what do you mean?
Yeah, so even the Skittle was kind of a foreign taste to him. So, but there would be some kind of preferred food. And he'd be hungry, and he'd want those, whatever it was. I'd have to go back to figure out what it was that he would prefer. And so, one bite, dude, we're just going to sit here until you take that. Maybe it was a blueberry. I don't know, something like that, right? To introduce new foods, because that's another thing that you helped us with is everything about introducing new foods. And now I will say, and this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, he would really eat anything I would put in front of him, and that included liver and vegetables. And so now it's easy. Well, it wasn't, but it is now.
And you say it wasn't. And this is what happened. Really, thank you for saying that, because what it takes is a lot of, perseverance and the intention. You actually set the intention, I think. You set the intention that that's what you were going to do is John was going to take pills. He was going to eat a variety of foods. And so you worked your program. And
it was actually kind of a bluff, I will admit to you all, but I knew I had to hold that boundary. So I was looking at him like, dude, I'm not budging, but inside I was going, oh, please, dear God, just do it, John. Please, because you don't know how long my bluff's going to last. But I knew what he needed to do. It was for his future. It was just, that's your ammunition, your motivation.
I think the big thing is the motivation.
Yeah.
I see that with, I've had several inquiries recently. The child's 3 or 4 years old, has autism, and he won't eat. And so there's the thing about your child not eating, and then there's the thing about supporting your child in not eating. And I think every parent, don't you think, needs to make that determination are you going to support your child in not eating the things that you're upset that he's eating because he's not being healthy? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and so what I remember back from the darker days, I mean, we still have dark days now, but that's mostly fear and worry. That's not so much procedure. All right, so back in the earlier days when I really didn't know everything that we needed to do, it was really only one way forward, and that was toward the light. You're in a tunnel, and there's wise people outside that tunnel or toward you, walking toward you, and they're giving you interventions, and they're offering you hope. But you can't let your kid down. I just couldn't fail him, and so he didn't appreciate me in the short term. But I'll always hope he appreciates it in the long term.
Yeah, he's prospered in the long term, has he not?
Yeah.
And he's been doing a mineral nutritional balancing, or a version of it for 5 years.
Wow.
Since 2015.
Wow.
7 years. 7 years. 7 years. And so he's one of the few children that, I'd say few children, period, that actually eat vegetables, cooked vegetables. Yeah. He's one of the few children that do that. And that, so speaking of cooked vegetables and the diet and all that, the diet is designed for your child's oxidation rate. And most children should be fast oxidizers, which means that the diet should reflect, the body is going to need certain things, and they need certain animal proteins, certain fats, and minimal carbohydrates. And most people are consuming maximum carbohydrates and minimal vegetables and minimal proteins.
And there's a double whammy that goes with those carbohydrates, because that's a lot of processed food, and there's a lot of other nasty things. If you read the ingredients on processed foods,
even gluten-free.
Yeah.
So even though you're going gluten-free, doesn't mean that you've got carte blanche to just go completely all carbs with your gluten-free. So the good news is that there is hope for your child to work through some of these things and for your child to heal. I see so many children who are hypoglycemic. It's actually, this is why some children melt down, they're moody, they have all of these mental health issues. Well, really the problem may be that they're eating a lot of sugar and consuming a lot of empty carbs, and their bodies are starving for some real food. So,
and there's another benefit to the heavy on the vegetables. You know where to buy your food. It's the frozen and fresh vegetables, okay? So, and I pile those on. Even if I make something that's a little bit off track, like a fried rice, I put a little tiny bit of rice and a whole bunch of the chicken, the egg, a ton of vegetables, and there you go, dude. He also, all these years, he's 16 with braces in his mouth, 4 or 5 extractions on his teeth, severe oral defensiveness. He's a poster child for the braces, and 0 cavities, because he doesn't put all that sugar in his mouth.
Right.
No cavities.
No cavities. The other thing I've been noticing with his hair tests, he gets tests every 6 months. You take a biopsy of the hair and you see what's happening. He continues to detox with heavy metals, continues to this day. Sometimes he has major detox going on, and sometimes his body is just getting ready for the next round of detoxing. And so he's consistently, he consistently is on this progress. It's not like this, it's not steady, it's like going always up, always different. His world has changed. He changes, the world changes, because as children get older, the demands never decrease. It always, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and even when you get the help with in puberty, there's a yin and a yang to the puberty. The estrogen and testosterone help toward being anti-inflammatory, but you got all the other negative parts of puberty, attitude and all of that, right? And then different interests and pushback and no I won't kind of things. But yeah, and I'll tell you what, my litmus test for John has always been he's still lagging in expressive language, and he's still lagging in academics. I wish he was in a different place than that, but we keep pushing on all of those things. His eyes are shinier, and he's more with you. So that joint attention thing, that glad to be alive thing, that going off to school and participating in all the extracurriculars, and he's very brave when he's scared. Those are my litmus tests for him.
And the other thing too, that one of the really awesome things that you did as a parent to help support his language. And I'm saying this because a lot of people, parents, I guess we're all trained to look at an expert to find out, the experts will know the things. And some experts know some things and some experts not so much. Or, what I'm trying to say is the more that you can embrace for yourself and do for your child, then you are the expert of your child, bottom line. So Gail has a beautiful way with technology. And so what she did was she filmed pretty much everything John was doing. And she took little vignettes of what he was doing, whether it was in the park swinging. She connected with some parents who had children who were his age who were neurodevelopmentally typical. So he would have a model to see what, when they were going out in public, to see what was going on. But I think the really beautiful thing about the language acquisition that Gail did was she took those little vignettes and she, what was the word? She talked over, she described what was going on in those scenes, that John's swinging and, you know, we're going to the park and this is, all these things were going on. And as time went on, when I'd be doing laser therapy on him, he'd have his phone and he's like going, he didn't have the words, but he was showing me what he was doing. He was pointing. And it was the beginning of language. And he does have some great receptive language skills. And the expressive will come at some point in time,
right?
I think.
And the bridge in between is the auditory processing, which means the brain cannot be all inflamed and fighting for the auditory process, for all the chemicals and the electricity to get where they got to go in synchronization, right? Which is kind of a short version of sensory integration. So yeah, and the modeling that he would get, and then his earnestness, his joint attention in wanting to share with Rosie. He calls her Rosie, so I call her Rosie, to share with her his life. And that goes back to the relationship, which is another really important component of all of this, is that our kids know when someone accepts them and loves them, and their elasticity is a lot longer. So Rosie and I can get away with requiring, putting higher asks on John, because he knows that we love him and we're here for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so what I have to say about the nutritional balancing, the nutrition piece about this, just as you know, Rosemary Slade, been working with a lot of families, been working with a lot of people. Most of us are pretty deprived nutritionally. I can say that as a blanket statement and nobody would have to sue me because it's probably true. Yeah. I look at the Chick-fil-A line and it's not getting any smaller, nor is the one at Whataburger. But you know, the line for getting up your cooked vegetables and some meat is not that long. So if you want to make a really big impact, and I'm talking huge impact on your child, with the least amount of money, because how much does autism cost, sister?
Oh gosh, You don't want to count it, okay?
Pull out your checkbook.
Yeah, you really don't want to count it day by day. And so to support what Rosemary is saying, I'll show up when I pick him up and we're going somewhere. There'll be a thermos filled with cooked vegetables. When you go into a restaurant,
and meat.
And meat, right, yeah. So, yeah, and the meat's easier, you know, and a little tiny bit of carbohydrates, but it's the vegetables, right? And certain are more favored than others. So, and you can even require that off the menu. You can ask people for grilled chicken and a veggie plate. And even if it's not on the menu, ask for it. Mexican food is the tortilla soup. There's Chinese food is a good place to go for that. And it is just the way it is. I eat that way. And so John sees me eat that way and it's like, okay, I guess that's all there is. That's how we're going to eat.
He has some friends that come over and they're very highly insulted that there's vegetables to eat and not...
Yeah, because they don't eat them, and I say, here you go, you want something else, you're going to eat this little bit first, and they go, oh, I'm not going to eat that. And I say, well, look at John, he's wolfing it down. So, but he's taller than I am now. We're working on his mitochondria, on his strength, on his balance. We've got a trainer that he's working with, so he's starting to get little tiny pec muscles. And it's important to him now, his peers, working through everything we can at the public school system. So he's loving his budding teenage life. And there's really nowhere that he's told, no, you can't go. He's told he gets to earn it. And I think that fits into the good nutrition. It's setting up a really healthy movement-based learning machine for him so that he has the stamina, the energy, and the building blocks, right? You can't build a healthy body and muscle up and all that if you're working with, well, you know, CRAP. So
yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people will want to and choose to go to see a functional medicine doctor. A lot of people feel that that's very valuable for their time, and that's fine if you want to see a functional medicine doctor. And I'm just saying that they're expensive. That's all I got to say about that. You know, they're effective. You use one. Mm-hmm. I know that doctor. She's an excellent doctor. Yet not everybody can afford a $5,000 office visit, or whatever it costs, plus the insurance and all that. So if you look at the overall cost of what nutritional balancing is, you're talking, what, 2, 4, 5, maybe $1,000 a year overall. And that's on the outside of reality here.
And that would include supplements that you all recommend.
That includes supplements, that includes the testing, it includes everything. So is it a one-size-fits-all? No, you've got to do the program. There's one thing about it is this is something that you have got to do with your family, and it's better if you actually include the whole family and don't say, well, just only one kid does this and you're up. It's all about you, and you have to eat this.
Sorry,
and the rest of us
you're
are sitting
stuck
here.
in, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the way I like try to describe it to friends is that I cook like grandma used to cook, right? You cut up the vegetables, you cook them as quick as you can, but enough. And then your proteins, and you try to minimize your processed foods because they didn't have it back then. And I try to minimize the sugar. So I'm minimizing simple carbohydrates in every way that we can. He's got 0 cavities. He's got a BMI of body mass index, right? So the fat on him is non-existent. He's got a BMI is probably 10. So yeah, he can, and his metabolism is fast. So I don't know how much he actually fully absorbs. That's another thing about the immune system. Every immune system is a different detective mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and there was one other thing I was going to say. There went that thought.
Oh, no, it'll come. I just want to encourage you as a parent, as a fellow parent. So if you're sitting around worried, scared, fearful, maybe you got your diagnosis way too recently, whatever age that is, please don't lament, don't fear, don't worry about the water under the bridge. Today is the day of early intervening. And today is the day that you start with your child and you set up a family plan and you just keep working day by day by day. And you're going to blink, and one of these days they're going to be hitting puberty or more. And it's that or more part that we worry about so much, right? What happens to my kiddo when I'm not here to help? And so everything that drives the whole intervention process is to help your child live independently, to be healthy, to have really good habits. I swear, I think John's going to have these great habits as he approaches his independence. And we've done cooking episodes, Facebook, #Cooking with John, where he cuts up, he's got these great plastic knives, he hasn't disemboweled himself yet. And he cuts up stuff and we throw it in the pot and we cook it and then he eats it. So learning how to cook vegetables for yourself so when mom's too old and creaky to do anything, you can feed her. Good plan.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's a good plan. And I want to let you know, you parents who are out there and you're struggling, you're looking for answers. I think that the world, there's a reason that autism has a puzzle piece, in my opinion, is because every child has got a little tick that they have their own particular uniqueness to them, to the puzzle piece. Yet there are similarities that are universal, in my opinion, but I haven't met every child on the universe. Well, I'd like to, but I haven't.
Yeah.
But there are, in my opinion, there's universal things that are a challenge for this and any special needs population. And that's the big thing is the gut issue and solving and healing the gut. Because if you can help out the gut, then the brain starts working more. And so all the therapies that you guys are spending a lot of money on, because I know I'm an occupational therapist, and I know families who've got their child seeing occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and a whole bunch of other therapies. Their dance card, their appointment book is way more scheduled than any other child, that you can think of. They've got a lot of things going on. Getting a good sound nutritional base will make those therapies more effective. That is what I think is the big takeaway. You've got to, if you have a good therapy, and you've got some good things going on in the brain, then that brain and that body, regardless of the therapy, is going to get a better benefit than if there's no good nutrition on board.
And it rolls over to social, it rolls over to education, it rolls over to the public school system for them to acquire knowledge, right? So if the body doesn't leak out gloopy carbohydrates that like opioids, right? And so the brain's dizzy because it can't focus. And so anything that you can help your child on their methylation, big fancy word, it means to detox. Anything you can help with them on their immune system, right? As Rosemary said, all of the therapies and helping the body, it's a movement-based learning machine. And then the healthier it is, it rolls over to the brain and all the good things that come from that. Focus, executive functioning, self-control, self-reliance.
Fine motor.
Fine motor.
Sitting at a desk.
Yeah.
All of these things, that this is what you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then you have the gross motor, the fine motor, and the oral motor, which comes back to speech, right? So if we wish that our kids did a better job of talking, well, you're going to go back up to where it all started, which is that they're the two-footed launch. I mean, we've got blog posts, and you can just go to her website, you go to my website, and you can search for things. And you can see day by day by day what the interventions look like, and you can duplicate them. They were made so that they could be replicated anywhere. And you can get it, how did Rosemary help John? And then I implemented it, get a good two-footed launch. If you don't have that, then you're not going to be able to do stuff with the fingers, right? So, which affects then the oral motor too.
Motor.
Yeah.
And so when Gail says a good two-footed launch means that John was unable to jump at age 4.5 or 5. So we worked on him learning how to jump, which helps with, so many things. It's pretty unreal how just what a simple thing like jumping or crawling do to help with the overall development of your child. So is there anything else you would like to say to anybody out here, parents, moms, dads, grandparents, caregivers?
Well, I would say be good to yourself. Today's the day. Don't put it off. Do something today. And maybe not 1,000 things new today. Do one new thing. And then tomorrow do one new thing plus the thing you started today. And help your child toward the healthier, but joy. Help your kid toward feeling better about themselves, which goes back to, self-esteem, resilience, all those. And that stuff all starts with the movement-based learning machine of detoxing and methylating, which is the body, helping the body feel at peace in its own skin.
Well said. Well said. Yeah.
And if you follow the same diet, you're going to feel better yourself. And we need to live forever, right? So I've never felt my age or looked my age or acted my age. And I don't think, there's a lot of us parents that think that we really can't afford to age anyway. So you're helping yourself at the same time. You're helping everybody in the family. And it's not that hard if you just set your mind to the fact that we're just going to eat these things. And we're not going to eat all that other stuff. Yeah, it simplifies things. It really does.
I swear, for me, I've been doing this for 7 years now. My life is so simple. I have all my diets figured out, and the food that I'm going to eat has been figured out. All I got to do is prepare it and put it in my mouth. I don't have to think about what I'm going to cook for dinner. Think about, what it is. I used to have this pantry that was full of spices and herbs and all kinds of things, and I'd be cooking up these meals, and I still cook up the meals, and I still have a nice pantry, but my herbs have gone down because the thing to heal your body, the thing about healing yourself is sometimes less is more. And a lot of people are doing a lot of interventions with their child, and that would be like, maybe doing a lot of supplements, and they might be the wrong supplements, so that's irritating the body. And they might be doing a lot of different foods or giving their child, the different wrong foods, and that irritates the body. And so pretty soon they're looking at another intervention that might work to go with the other two interventions, and maybe we'll start out with something else, and that'll irritate the body. And then pretty soon the body has got so much stuff going into it that there's no rhyme or reason, and then you've got a pretty disorganized kid. And this is what I see really very regularly. Well, he eats a great meal, he eats really healthy, And he has all of these things that are going, you know, and when I look at what he's eating, well, no, he's not eating very healthy. It's really a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar. So my advice to you is, if you're looking at supporting your child in any intervention that you do, especially one that is like a nutritional based or something like that, or you've tried something and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that it's going to not work forever. It just means it's possible that your child wasn't neurologically ready for that particular intervention. And so you may want to revisit it. But if you're doing a dietary intervention, I recommend spending no more than maybe a year, 6 months to a year. This is where I'm headed with that. If you're not moving the dial within a year on a dietary intervention, you need to move on and find something that may work for your child. As long as it's in the realms of staying off the gluten, staying off the casein, staying off the soy, and working in those realms. So.
And I can speak for a moment about the cohesiveness of the family. So John and I have a little running competition of who's going to win first, taking our supplements. And we eat the same foods. And so instead of him feeling like he's over there suffering, no, we're doing it together. So it makes him feel more connected to the world and less ostracized, you know, to be just a part of everything. And then he has his occasional pizza, right? I even let him have the autonomy when he goes to school lunches. He picks out his own lunch. But when we eat together, then we'll work on there's lots of extra vegetables in there to make up for whatever they don't serve at the school.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say that I had forgotten, was that when Gail started out with Mineral Balancing, when she started out with GAPS, it was really important for her that John have the socialization that he needed to have at school, and that meant that he was going to be eating what the other children were eating at school. And that was a deal breaker for her, no matter what. This is what she wanted, and you honor that, right? And I totally honored whatever you wanted to do with him at school, and it makes sense, right? Why would he need to go stand in the lunch line and go choose some things out, but then he can't have them at the end because he's got to eat his special diet?
Or to feel like he's the only kid at the table with a thermos and he's got to eat mom's glop, you know. So
right.
It was flexibility in there, and Rosemary worked with us on that.
Right.
And that was the beautiful thing about, you really hit it hard for a year, and then the system, the program is supposed to let the body then taper into other foods.
Yes. And the more,
sometimes, right?
Sometimes. I mean, the more you can stick with it, the more it's better. But yet, you also have to realize that these are children. We do have a variety. Variety is the spice of life. So give yourself a little bit of latitude. And like Gail was John does the things that John does when he's with his friends. That's what he does, right? Does the things that John does. So I wanted to just say that I hope that this video has been helpful for you. The intention was to have Gail, who has been in the trenches for many, many, many years and been doing nutritional balancing for many, many, many years. She's figured it out. It's fairly easy for her at this point. It's like it's not an issue at all. And it's really easy to do once you set your mind to it.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out Gail's work, she's pretty visible on Facebook. Gail Fisher, Fisher, Gayle, right?
Yeah. My maiden name is Yes, like yes, no, maybe so, 2 S's. So yeah, there's and both of our websites are searchable for the interventions. I post a lot of John's life there. Hopefully nothing that will ever make him embarrassed. But they're definitely roadmaps, and that's what we've tried to do with our partnership, is to just map out things that are replicatable by you, that you could do for your kids. And we try to talk about the why, that you can then share that. Do your own research, but we really both believe in science-based stuff.
And what would be your go-to therapies right now? Or your like core therapies?
Okay, so
John,
anything that helps him with his fingers. So his fine motor is still behind his peers. So we still have a lot of occupational therapy, or where he has to do things with his hands. The dexterousness, right? His dysgraphia, his ability to handwrite is pathetic. So we're working on that all feeds handwriting. We're working on anything that helps with language processing, which is really secondary to the health, but that's the health that rolls over to the learning. We do a lot of things within the public school system, and so I just want to encourage you to that. There's a whole world that opens up. We could talk about that for days in collaborating with the public school system, but that includes diet, and that includes peers, and that includes joy, helping your kid love their life. So back to Rosemary's question, we do the quantum research integration with her lasers. That's weekly. John tries to get sleep as much as he can. We try to eat the foods the best way that we can. I try to make him as much responsible for himself. So we've gone less and less clinical as the years have gone by. In the early years, it's more that you can take your kid because they're little and cute. And you can take them to the SLPs and the clinic-based places. And then as they get older, they start to exert themselves more. And John has told me he's done with that one. And he's told me he's done with that one. And he's told me he's done with that one. So
he hasn't fired me yet.
He hasn't fired you yet. No. So you start to, it's more of a partnership with your kid and working together. There's still boundaries. So I would always say, parents, you know your boundaries, hold them. And he always has a list each day. And if he wants to dilly-dally around and not get it done, then fine. If he needs to lose his phone for him to focus, then that's fine. He knows that we both mean business, but we both love him, and we have humor, always humor in your redirects. So, you know, the main interventions when you're younger will evolve as they get older, and that's okay.
And the other thing too is you never stick with. It's everything evolves.
Yeah.
So what's happening when your child is 4 is a lot different than when your child's 16. Right. You know, it just is.
And as Rosemary was saying, that we both have tried to leave a wide trail of breadcrumbs. I know surely I have on John's 2-year-old stuff. And then now what's his 7-year-old stuff. And now, oh dear God, his 16-year-old stuff, right? So that there's some ideas for you. It's never my intention to tell you what to do. But as a parent with similar scars and as much education as I can absorb from as many people as I can find, we just want to give you lots of ideas. And then we just hope that you hold your boundaries.
Yeah. So I can be reached at Better Living with Rosemary, BETTER, livingwithrosemary.com. And I will leave my particulars down in the bottom here of this YouTube, and I'll put Gail's if you're okay with that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's gettingsorted.com, and the links go out to all different, Rosemary mentioned different social platforms. Just trying to be where parents are. And maybe that's before you know that you've got a diagnosis in the family, because you never know what's going to happen next. There's genetic issues, there's epigenetic issues, and now epigenetic is things that happen after the child is born. And then there's lots of big fancy therapy words and doctor words that mean that your child can have more than one type of need. And so do it. You won't be sorry, you'll be glad.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching.
Okay, cheers.